This is a message for Colleen Hoover and Sony Pictures. What I'm asking for isn't small. It's a move that could cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Scrap the current version of It Ends With Us. Bring in a new Lily Bloom. Restore Justin Baldoni's original creative vision. Reshoot it. Everyone on the planet knows about this story by now, and anyone who already saw the film would watch it again. Readers who felt let down by the adaptation would flock back in curiosity. Behind the scenes, though, there's a darker Hollywood story playing out. Colleen Hoover has been accused of masterminding one of the boldest power moves in recent memory. According to critics, she pushed Justin Baldoni out of the picture, teamed up with Blake Lively, and snatched back the rights to her own book, shattering his dream project in the process. Reports claim she backed Blake's accusations against Baldoni without providing any proof or receipts. In the chaos, she slid in and took the project straight from under his feet. Then, just when the spotlight burned the brightest, she suddenly announced her retirement, a move some see as either brilliant strategy or pure cowardice. But dodging accountability isn't new for Hoover. She's faced backlash before, from her tone-deaf decisions around It Ends With Us to disturbing allegations involving her own family. This time, however, the fallout feels bigger, messier, and harder to run from. To understand how everything unraveled, rewind to 2019. Back then, It Ends With Us wasn't yet a TikTok juggernaut. But Justin Baldoni saw its potential instantly. He emailed Hoover, praising her book as romantic, heartbreaking, and devastatingly beautiful. He wanted to adapt it into a film long before it went viral, and he was all in. So much so that Hoover even suggested he should play Ryle, the male lead. Their partnership seemed solid. But cracks began to form when casting disputes emerged. Hoover pushed for Blake Lively in the lead role, claiming admiration for her work. The irony? Blake reportedly hadn't even read the book and didn't know much about Hoover before landing the part. Still, Hoover insisted, and Baldoni, ever the people-pleaser, gave in. That wouldn't be the last time Hoover twisted his arm. Their partnership began to look less like collaboration and more like manipulation. Then came the breaking point. Colleen, who once praised Baldoni's vision, flipped and stood firmly behind Blake, even defending her in heated moments without offering any real evidence. Fans were shocked at the betrayal. Rumors swirled of an infamous day when Baldoni and his family were locked in the basement during a gathering, while Hoover cozied up with Blake and the cast upstairs. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Instead of facing it head-on, Hoover tried to disappear. She deleted her social media accounts as if vanishing online could erase the damage. But scandals don't vanish that easily. Not long after, Hoover was dragged for another controversial move, releasing a coloring book based on It Ends With Us. A story rooted in her parents' real-life trauma. Centered on abuse and violence, turned into a fun activity book? Critics slammed it as exploitative and insensitive. Fans erupted, and Hoover was forced to pull the product before outrage grew worse. Underneath it all, some believe Hoover's resentment toward Baldoni boiled down to regret. By selling the rights to the book early, before TikTok made it a global phenomenon, she missed out on a fortune. Baldoni wasn't about to hand those rights back, no matter how bitter she felt. That tension may have fueled the entire feud. Still, Hoover's biggest controversy wasn't about Blake or Baldoni. It centered on her son. He was accused of messaging a 16-year-old girl on Snapchat, allegedly aware of her age. The victim claimed she reached out to Hoover directly for help, only to be blocked. For an author whose empire was built on writing about survivors, the silence was deafening. When pressed, Hoover defended her son, called the accusations false, and even shifted blame toward the girl for twisting the story. At the same time, she tried a form of damage control, offering her lawyers information and even her home address if the girl wanted to pursue action. Fans weren't convinced. Many believe this scandal, not the Hollywood drama, is why Hoover truly deleted her Instagram and tried to vanish from the spotlight. Hoover's reputation, once built on telling stories of resilience, is now overshadowed by controversy. When she had the chance to stand up for a real survivor, she stayed silent. That silence has left fans questioning her authenticity, her integrity, and her entire brand. And yet, instead of cooling the flames, Hoover seemed to pour gasoline on them. Right after Blake Lively accused Baldoni of misconduct, claims now being questioned as baseless, Hoover jumped online to praise Blake. She called her honest, kind, supportive, and patient, even thanking her for being such a good human. Insiders, however, paint a very different picture. They allege Blake steamrolled the production, rewriting scenes to match her aesthetic vision and sidelining the story itself. So why would Hoover choose Blake's side? Was it about clout, money, or power? Whatever the reason, her decision to ditch Baldoni, after once calling him the perfect steward of her book, has left fans stunned. What began as a dream partnership has devolved into one of Hollywood's messiest betrayals. Between Justin Baldoni's crushed vision, Blake Lively's alleged power plays, and Colleen Hoover's scandals, both personal and professional, It Ends With Us has turned into more than just a movie. It's become a symbol of chaos, control, and controversy, and this storm is only just beginning. That switch-up didn't sit well with fans, and the backlash hasn't stopped since. What started as hype for a movie adaptation has spiraled into one of Hollywood's messiest betrayals in years. And with new receipts surfacing almost weekly, the scandal is only getting louder. If Blake Lively's accusations against Justin Baldoni had any weight, you'd expect at least one cast or crew member to back her up. But no one has. Not a single person. Instead, the spotlight has flipped back onto Blake herself, with critics pointing out her long history of on-set clashes, diva-like demands, and creative power struggles. The narrative looks less like Justin's downfall and more like Blake steering the ship, with Colleen Hoover trailing behind her as the loyal sidekick. But why? Theories are everywhere. Some argue Colleen wanted to lock down her place in Hollywood by attaching herself to a powerhouse name like Blake. Others believe she was bitter that Justin wasn't pulling in the kind of money Blake could. Whatever the reason, Colleen chose the wrong side, and now she's feeling the full force of the internet's wrath. Fans aren't buying it anymore. Blind loyalty to the rich and powerful never ends well, and Colleen's discovering that the hard way. Receipts keep piling up. In one resurfaced CNN interview, Blake was asked about the possibility of a sequel. Her answer: only if Colleen has the rights. That single line set off alarms. Wait, wasn't Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios already in possession of the rights? Why was Blake talking like Colleen could just swoop in and reclaim them? Even more suspicious, Colleen sat right beside her, smiling like it was all part of the plan. To fans, it didn't feel like an innocent slip. It felt like foreshadowing. And sure enough, soon after that interview, Colleen launched her own production company, Heartbones Entertainment. The timing was too perfect. Around the same period, she switched to a powerhouse Hollywood law firm, the kind that reps A-listers like Johnny Depp and Brad Pitt. That wasn't random. It was preparation. It looked like Colleen was getting ready for a legal showdown, one that could strip Justin of his rights and hand them right back to her new company. Now connect the dots. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds aren't just stars. They're Hollywood insiders with deep pockets and serious influence. If they wanted to grease the wheels behind the scenes, it wouldn't take much. Fans started speculating that Blake and Colleen were quietly plotting a takeover long before Justin ever faced accusations. And here's where things get darker. Justin's contract reportedly contained a morality clause, a common Hollywood safeguard. These clauses are ruthless. If a filmmaker or actor is accused of serious misconduct, the studio can terminate deals immediately to protect the project. Think of how Diddy lost awards and honors overnight when allegations surfaced. In Justin's case, that clause meant if an accusation landed, even without proof, the rights to It Ends With Us would automatically revert back to Colleen. That's why fans believe Blake's accusations weren't random. They may have been the trigger. Once filed, they set off a chain reaction. Justin's agency dropped him, Hollywood distanced itself, and Colleen was legally positioned to reclaim the rights. But she wasn't planning to keep them. The plan, according to fan theories, was always to pass them directly into Blake's orbit. This didn't look like a messy accident. It looked like a calculated hit job dressed up as a Me Too-style moment. And the internet noticed. Months before the scandal broke, a Reddit thread allegedly written by a crew member detailed suspicious behind-the-scenes maneuvering. At the time, it seemed wild. Now, with the way events lined up, fans are connecting the dots. What emerges is a far darker picture. Colleen Hoover wasn't a bystander caught in the storm. She may have been one of the architects. From setting up her own production company to lawyering up with Hollywood's best, to backing Blake's every move while smiling for the cameras, she played the game like a pro. And in the process, Justin Baldoni was crushed, his dream project stripped away, and fans were left questioning everything they thought they knew about the best-selling author of It Ends With Us. What started as excitement around It Ends With Us has now turned into one of the messiest Hollywood controversies in years. At the center of it all, Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, and Colleen Hoover. What once looked like a dream collaboration between best-selling author, beloved actor, and a leading lady quickly spiraled into betrayal, accusations, and a storm of rumors so layered that fans are still connecting dots months later. And the deeper you dig, the clearer it becomes. This wasn't just a case of creative differences. It was a calculated power struggle, complete with legal chess moves, behind-the-scenes manipulation, and carefully planted narratives designed to take down one man, Justin Baldoni. The story begins long before cameras ever rolled. When Justin secured the adaptation rights to Colleen Hoover's viral novel, he envisioned a project that would honor the book's emotional depth while expanding his career as a director. For Colleen, the deal was a win too. Her words brought to life on screen, her audience expanded into Hollywood. At least that's what fans believed. But behind closed doors, cracks were already forming. Hidden inside Justin's contract was a standard morality clause, a common feature in Hollywood deals. If the actor, producer, or director attached to a project was accused of something damaging, misconduct, harassment, abuse, studios could instantly sever ties, protecting the film from scandal. On paper, it was business as usual. In reality, it became the ticking time bomb that would detonate everything. Fast forward to when Blake Lively entered the picture. For the public, it was exciting. An A-list actress leading the adaptation of one of the most viral books of the decade. For Justin, it should have been a career-making collaboration. But insiders say it didn't take long before creative clashes began. Justin, known for his careful direction and hands-on approach, reportedly wasn't satisfied with the studio's first edit of the film. He pushed for his own editing team, people he trusted to preserve the story's emotional weight. For Blake, that was a problem. She had a reputation, decades in Hollywood, connections with powerful names, and a history of demanding control on set. If Justin wanted input, she wanted ownership. And that was where the conflict began to snowball. According to whispers that later exploded online, Blake allegedly demanded Sony let her replace editors with her own team. When the studio refused, things escalated. A chilling Reddit post, written months before the public controversy broke, outlined the exact sequence that would later unfold. The anonymous user claimed Blake threatened to take accusations of misconduct against Justin to the press if she didn't get her way. At the time, no one took the post seriously, but when the accusations actually came, the internet dug up the thread, horrified at how accurately it predicted the fallout. Suddenly, Justin was no longer just a director. He was a liability. Sony panicked. In the court of public opinion, even whispers of misconduct can destroy a career. Facing the looming PR nightmare, the studio allegedly banned Justin from the editing room altogether. And who got the control instead? Blake. It was the kind of behind-the-scenes power move that would change the trajectory of the entire project. From there, the production began unraveling. Blake brought in editors connected to Taylor Swift's music videos, leaning on her celebrity network to reshape the film. But juggling another overseas project, she couldn't give the adaptation the focus it needed. The result was a chaotic patchwork, a movie struggling to find direction. As the project floundered, another bombshell dropped. Taylor Swift herself reportedly gave Sony an ultimatum: remove a composer she had personal issues with, or she would distance herself from the film entirely. For a studio banking on Taylor's massive cultural influence, the choice was obvious. They sided with her, cutting the composer and plunging the production into deeper chaos. Piece by piece, the situation looked less like coincidence and more like a carefully executed takedown. Justin had been forced out. Blake had gained control. Colleen had suddenly launched her own production company, Heartbones Entertainment, just as rumors of reclaiming rights surfaced. Around the same time, she swapped her legal team for a powerhouse firm representing Hollywood's biggest stars, preparing for what fans now suspect was a calculated legal strike. And here's where the puzzle gets darker. Remember that morality clause? If Justin was accused of misconduct, the rights would snap back to Colleen instantly. Not months later. Not after trial. Immediately. Which meant that if any allegations surfaced, whether proven or not, Justin's control of the adaptation would vanish overnight. And that's exactly what happened. Almost as if on cue, Blake's accusations hit. The fallout was instant. Justin's agency dropped him. Hollywood distanced itself. And while he scrambled to defend himself, the timing looked suspiciously like a domino effect that had been set in motion long before. Suddenly, Colleen's shiny new production company was perfectly positioned to swoop in. And with Blake by her side, the narrative shifted from collaboration to coup. Fans began connecting dots across interviews, articles, and old footage. In one resurfaced CNN clip, Blake casually hinted that Colleen might somehow get her rights back if a sequel were to happen. To casual viewers, it was nothing. But in hindsight, it looked like a planted clue. How could Blake speak so casually about Colleen regaining rights if Justin still legally owned them? The smile Colleen gave during that moment now looks to many like confirmation. Not coincidence, but collusion. The comparisons came quickly. To some, it felt like a replay of the Johnny Depp-Amber Heard saga, where reputation was weaponized before evidence ever came forward. To others, it echoed the manipulative Hollywood power games once associated with stars like Jennifer Lopez, who leveraged her influence only to see her reputation suffer later. Even Meghan Markle's controversial role in reshaping narratives around the royal family was dragged into fan theories. The pattern was too familiar. Control the story, weaponize the press, secure your power, even if it meant destroying someone else. Meanwhile, Justin refused to go quietly. He brought in powerhouse attorney Brian Friedman, known for digging deep into digital evidence. Subpoenas, text messages, DMs, nothing was off the table. For the first time since the accusations, Blake and Colleen were on defense. And fans noticed. On January 22nd, Colleen Hoover suddenly wiped her Instagram clean, erasing posts and disappearing from the spotlight. The move set the internet ablaze with speculation. Was she scrubbing her tracks before evidence surfaced? Was she retreating in panic, or simply trying to protect her brand from imploding further? Then came the retirement announcement. Colleen shocked fans by declaring she was stepping away from publishing, citing burnout and personal reasons. But no one bought it. To the internet, it looked like a desperate retreat, a way to escape before the full truth unraveled. Was she a mastermind who played Justin like a pawn, or had Blake manipulated her into becoming an accomplice? The jury's still out. But one thing is clear, Colleen's exit doesn't end the drama. If anything, it deepens the mystery. What's perhaps most chilling is the theory that Blake didn't just manipulate Colleen, she may have orchestrated a broader betrayal. Imagine her whispering doubts into the ears of cast members, suggesting Justin wasn't trustworthy, hinting at impropriety. Brandon Sklenar, who played Atlas, may have been nudged to see Justin as the villain, possibly lured with promises of future opportunities. Slowly, the cast and crew could have been turned against him, leaving Justin isolated, powerless, and unable to defend himself before the tidal wave hit. And that's the brilliance and cruelty of the alleged scheme. By the time Justin realized what was happening, the damage was done. Hollywood had already judged him guilty in the court of public opinion. Colleen had distanced herself, Blake had seized control, and the project that was supposed to cement Justin's career had become the weapon that nearly destroyed it. But here's where it backfires. Fans aren't buying the polished PR narrative anymore. Receipts, timelines, and leaked insider accounts paint a picture too suspicious to ignore. What once looked like a scandal may now be exposed as one of the most ruthless Hollywood takedowns in recent memory. And if that's true, then Blake and Colleen may not just be facing backlash. They may have underestimated the internet's ability to piece together the truth. Because here's the irony. The very web of lies and manipulation that Blake allegedly spun to secure control may now be unraveling in real time. And once the threads fully come loose, Hollywood won't just remember this as a messy adaptation scandal. They'll remember it as a cautionary tale of greed, betrayal, and the ruthless games people play when fame, money, and power are on the line. So the question remains, was Colleen Hoover a co-conspirator who knew exactly what she was doing, or a pawn caught in Blake's larger game? Was Justin Baldoni a victim of calculated sabotage, or simply unlucky in a brutal industry where power always wins? One thing's certain, this saga is far from over. And when the next twist comes, the fallout could shake Hollywood to its core.